There's a person out there who woke up this morning, opened their banking app, saw the balance, and immediately closed it without saying a word to anyone. Then they walked into the garage, started their $65,000 car, and drove to work feeling like an absolute legend. That person might be you, or someone you know, or honestly both. And either way, you clicked on this video for a reason. Today we're going to talk about one of the most irrational, most impulsive, and most perfectly understandable decisions a human being can make: buying a car they absolutely cannot afford. We're going to understand why they do it, why a part of them knew it was a bad idea before they signed, and why, given the exact same circumstances, they would do it again without hesitating. Because this isn't really about cars, it's about how the human brain works when it wants something badly enough. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let me describe exactly how this happens. Because it always goes the same way. One day, for no particular reason, someone walks into a dealership just to look, just to browse. I'm not buying anything, I'm just seeing what's out there. Sure, of course, that's what everyone says. And then they see it. That specific car, that color, that trim, that exact configuration. And something in their brain just switches off. Not metaphorically, literally. The prefrontal cortex, the rational part, the part that's supposed to calculate monthly payments and insurance premiums and the fact that rent is due in 11 days, it goes completely quiet. What takes over is called the limbic system. It's the ancient emotional part of your brain, the part you share with reptiles, by the way. It doesn't think, it doesn't plan, it feels. And what it feels in that exact moment is, I want this, I need this is already mine. The salesperson knows this. They're trained to know this. That's why they say, "Want to take it for a quick drive?" And you say yes. And the second you're behind that wheel, with the seat perfectly adjusted and the sound system doing things your apartment speakers have never done, something shifts. You're not buying a car anymore. You're buying who you are while driving it. You're buying the version of yourself that owns this thing. And that version feels really, really good. The monthly payment becomes a detail, a future problem. And future you is apparently very capable and resourceful. Future you will handle it. Present you just needs to say yes. Now here's where it gets genuinely fascinating, because this is where psychology completely takes over from common sense. When someone buys a car they can't afford, they are not being stupid. They are being deeply, profoundly human. Psychologists call it identity management. The core idea is simple. We don't buy things for what they are. We buy them for what they make us feel we are. A BMW isn't transportation. It's a statement. It's telling the world, and more importantly, telling yourself who you are, or who you're in the process of becoming. And here's the uncomfortable truth. It works. People treat you differently. You carry yourself differently. You walk into a room differently when you know what's parked outside. There are actual studies showing that men who drive sports cars experience measurable spikes in testosterone at the wheel. This isn't poetry. This is biology. Your brain links the car to power, to status, to desirability, and your body responds. The problem, and this is the trap nobody warns you about, is that the effect lasts approximately 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And then the car just becomes your car. It becomes the thing you scrape ice off on Tuesday mornings. It becomes the thing you're worried about in grocery store parking lots. The thrill fades, the novelty disappears, but the payment keeps arriving on the same date every single month for the next 5 or 6 years. Psychologists have a name for this: hedonic adaptation. Human beings are extraordinary machines at getting used to things. Whatever thrills you today becomes background noise by next month. The brain chases the feeling, not the object. The car was never really the point. It was always just the vessel for a feeling that was never going to last anyway. Now, within the universe of people who buy cars they cannot afford, there are some very specific types. I'm going to need you to be brutally honest with yourself here. First, there's the eternal optimist. This person signed the paperwork fully convinced that a promotion was coming. There is no concrete evidence of this. They've been expecting a raise for about 3 years. But this time, it's different. This time they can feel it. The car is basically already paid for, it just hasn't happened yet. Then there's the creative mathematician. This one actually did the math, genuinely. They sat down with a spreadsheet and made a plan. And if they stop eating out on weekends, cancel the gym membership they haven't used since January, and cut non-essential spending, which essentially means pausing their social life, the payment is perfectly manageable. The numbers work. In a spreadsheet, under ideal conditions, with zero unexpected expenses for 60 straight months. Then you've got the one who deserves it. This person has been responsible for years. Years of making the smart call, watching other people splurge on things while they drove a sensible, practical car that got them from A to B with zero drama, and now it's finally their turn. It's not reckless spending, it's justice. The fact that they technically cannot afford it is almost a philosophical footnote. And finally, my personal favorite, the one who calls it an investment. This person has convinced their own brain and made a brave attempt to convince their partner that the car is not a liability. It's an asset, an investment in professional image, in personal brand, in mental wellness, in the kind of networking that only happens when people respect what you drive. Their partner did not buy this argument. Their brain did, completely, and has never looked back. All right. Let's talk about the number that nobody puts on the price tag. The monthly payment is not the price of the car, it's the entrance fee. The full cost includes premium insurance, because you are absolutely not putting basic coverage on a $70,000 vehicle. Maintenance and luxury cars have a very expensive definition of routine service, tires, which cost dramatically more when they're wider and lower profile. Parking in places where you don't feel anxious leaving it. Detailing, because now you actually care. And the constant background stress that some stranger is going to open their door into yours in a Target parking lot while you're inside for 8 minutes. Financial advisors use a simple rule of thumb. The total annual cost of owning a car typically runs between 15 and 20% of its value. A $60,000 car costs you somewhere between $9,000 and $12,000 a year just to own. Before gas, before tolls, before the moment your check engine light comes on 6 weeks after the warranty expires. But here's what I find truly remarkable from a psychological perspective. People know this, not with exact figures, but they sense it. They feel the weight of it before they ever sign. And they sign anyway. Because the human brain is not a financial calculator. It is an emotional management system that occasionally does math when it has no other choice. And in that dealership, with that car, with that salesperson who has been trained specifically for this exact moment, the emotion wins. Every time. Not because people are reckless, but because people are people. So how does this actually end? There's version A. The car becomes the catalyst. They got serious, pushed for that promotion, built a side income, restructured everything. A few years later, they tell the story at a dinner party as the time they were a little crazy and it worked out. The car is paid off. They love it. Zero regrets. Then there's version B, which is more common than anyone in the lending industry wants to discuss. The payment is harder than expected. Things get cut first, the small luxuries, then the things that genuinely matter, the savings, the emergency fund, the financial margin that lets you breathe. The car that was supposed to represent arrival slowly becomes a monthly reminder of a decision made in 15 minutes on a Saturday afternoon when judgment was temporarily on vacation. The difference between those two endings is not the car. It's everything that happens the day after signing. Whether that purchase was the beginning of something or the beginning of a very expensive education. And this is what nobody tells you when you're standing there with that adrenaline in your chest. The car is neutral. It will not make you more successful. It will not fix what isn't working. It will not prove what you need to prove. The feeling it gives you is real and it is temporary. 3 weeks, remember? Although those first 3 weeks, let's be completely honest, are a genuinely wonderful time. Here's what I want to leave you with. If at any point during this video you thought this is way too accurate, you're not alone. There are a lot of us, far more than would ever admit it in public. Because the psychology behind buying a car you can't afford isn't stupidity, it isn't weakness. It's a window into something real, what you need to feel, what you want others to see, what version of yourself you're still trying to build. The car is just the most expensive shortcut to that feeling. The problem was never wanting the car. The problem is believing the car delivers what you're actually looking for. which is usually something no financing department in the world can help you with. And if right now you're at a dealership physically or just mentally running those numbers one more time, trying to make them add up, feeling that pull that your rational brain is working very hard to rationalize, I just want to say one thing. I hope you love the color you pick, because you're going to be looking at it for a long time. If this felt uncomfortably familiar, send it to someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to keep understanding why your brain makes decisions your bank account has to live with, there's a lot more where this came from. See you in the next one.